Okay, just a quick one today, just on the subject of, Millennial Woes, who I have declared myself previously done, in his words, with discussing. Evidently, I am deeply, deeply dull, and at least somewhat obsessed with the dissident right. Both charges, should they be levelled, are, I would have to confess, accurate. This came up in the feed yesterday. I thought it was worth commenting on, really, and it's just well, what I found quite funny is I actually took the piss out of him for this. I don't know, 2 years. I think it was 2 years ago. I think it was one of my first ones about him, which was why didn't they surrender? And basically, I kind of said, what you do isn't fucking nationalism. You're sitting around talking about the fucking upstairs, downstairs. And then you're sneering at Ukrainian nationalists driving fucking, murderous orcs out of Kiev Oblast and saying, oh, they should have just surrendered. Oh. And here he is, openly declaring that this is his intention. Like this would be the first thing on his desk after, the wonderful triumph of Millennial, the hard work of Millennial is all done. Then it's time to get down to serious matters and talk about upstairs, downstairs. And it's just like, I don't know, is this life imitating Spurging? Or is this Spurging imitating life? I don't know, but it's just, it's remarkable. It's remarkable. This is what, they present this as nationalism. Like, it's comical. This is what I say, Tavistock would be fucking delighted. Tavistock would be laughing their tits off. They haven't had them surgically removed for the females. This is exactly, this is manna from fucking, agnostic heaven for them. To have, this fucking block of, low energy, maudling, weaponized nostalgia, just, soaking up energy from any possible kind of nationalist, discourse. It's the same with Morgoth. I mean, Morgoth isn't quite so inept, As I said, he's not a bad writer, technically. I don't like his stuff, but he is adept at writing structurally, in his medium. I mean, I don't think it's anything special, but I mean, he can do it. This guy is an abysmal writer, so I believe I've displayed. But this is the nature of the parasocial relationships. It's just like, you're going to talk about upstairs, downstairs and present this. This is a nationalist movement. They call themselves a movement, for fuck's sake. They talk about upstairs, downstairs. Fucking remarkable. And the point is, the wider point to this guy would have nothing without the decline. And Morgoth. I mean, Morgoth at least would have a job in a fucking warehouse. Apparently he's a forklift driver. So, I mean, that's not a bad little... You've got a reasonable skill there. Presumably he's got a license for that. Well, he will do. So, he would at least have a fucking job. But, not... He wouldn't be earning the kind of money he's no doubt earning now. And that's stepping over, any interested benefactors from the East. Millennial Woes, just looking at him, right? This guy went to art college, he got up to all he got up to. Let's again step over the gayness. It's gay fees.
Art college and prison are a bit different.
Of course not.
They're a little different.
Of course, but again, this is about... It's difficult to explain this, and it's not something that's really all that...
I just struggled because it's for me, is really truly be something called a gay phase, because the current modern belief is that you're fucking gay. You're fucking gay. You're fucking gay.
Oh, it was just a phase. No. Or whatever. Okay. He embarked on that. In his own words, that was due to, quote unquote, societal pressures of the 1990s.
Notice that I went through a gay phase. I think it was a phase I just had to go through.
You have to go through a gay phase? What did you mean? Do you still believe that you have to go through a gay phase?
I wouldn't say that now.
Okay.
I would say that was I don't say I had to go through it. I think that was really to do with the 90s. I think that was the cultural pressures that were there.
Societal pressures of the 1990s turned him gay. Fucking hell. What is it? Is it fucking Robbie Fowler's white suit in 1996? It's a niche reference, isn't it? I don't know. Steve McManaman's hair. What was it? The way, like, I don't know, Liam Gallagher would kind of like hold the sleeves of his shirt and rock side to side like a little fucking monkey, like a little northern monkey. Was it this societal pressure? Because I don't know what the fuck else you're talking about there. Now, if you were talking about the modern societal pressures for young lads, you probably have a point. But when these young lads, you know, present themselves in your timeline, you take the piss out of them. Like that guy who at 17 was talking about how he tried to kill himself, age 12, tried to hang himself by a ceiling fan because he was so fucked up with all this horrible social engineering demonic shit, quite frankly. I'm talking about the confused agenda, as it were, trans agenda. And he attempted suicide age 12, and you're fucking retweeting him saying, oh, it'll just blow over. Like, you know, this is a kid who he apparently did kill himself. But Millennial Woes doesn't know that. So Millennial Woes thinks it's just some 17-year-old, it's some leftist or whatever, so he just thinks it's, oh, let's just laugh at the leftist. It's just, I don't even know. Like, the guy's clearly a fucking dumpster fire. But, like, of all people, you're taking the piss out of him, sneering at him? So that lad had societal pressure, and he did take his life, age 17, which Millennial Woes was not aware of when he was retweeting him, making clever little puns about, you know, on the back of him talking about attempting suicide age 12. So there was no compassion for that fucker and the societal pressures that he was under. But the imagined societal pressures of the 1990s that in his head turned him gay wasn't just the fact that you're a bender, mate. Yeah, fine, whatever. And again, he's on Twitter the other day. He's like posting. This is like, I don't know. There's the Emperor's horse is a deer fucking thing, which I can never remember. When the Emperor presents a horse, he says, "This is my new horse, and it's a deer," and everyone has to agree that it's a deer, because he knows if someone says, "Wait a minute, this is a horse," sorry, this is a deer, not a horse, then, you know, they've not displayed loyalty to him. And this is what he's doing here. He's saying, he's talking about like quote unquote homophobic slurs and how like the sort of Brythonic ones are better than the fucking American ones. But it's just like, mate, you're fucking gay, like. The fuck? And everyone's in his comments going, aye, you're right, well, they're not all Scottish, are they? But whatever. They're all basically, you know, toadying. And it's just like, this guy's fucking gay, like, what the It's no self-awareness. You know, in 2014, he was saying 1 in 4 people he's attracted to is a man. Well, I mean, we've gone over this, so let's not go over it again. But, like, this is a level of demoralization. I mean, this is another thing. Like, the dissident right, specifically that little particular little niche of it, is so demoralized that it's just, they accept just the delusions of these people. In that instance, that he's a heterosexual man. He isn't. He's a bisexual fucking weirdo. Don't need to give a shit, but don't present yourself as a fucking hetero, because you're not. Or a thought leader, for that matter. Well, scary thing is, he probably is for these people.
I'm a thought leader. Thought leader. Thought leader.
But anyway, the point of this video is he would have nothing without the decline. Like, he went off to art college. I think he claims to have gone to a quote-unquote very good art college. Well, I had never seen any work of his. Has he ever presented his art? So I'm left to presume that he hasn't actually got any sort of, you know, technical artistic talent whatsoever. And all he can do is he can talk a good game, and he can do that god-awful conceptual, this represents this, and this is that kind of whole bullshit where they'll like present like like Tracy Emin, you know, that kind of, but obviously unsuccessful, but you know, a messy bed, and this conceptualizes, you know, 90s, well, societal pressures or something, I don't know. So he's got this weird mind gamey kind of very feminine kind of like, but this represents this, and so, and the lecturer, you know, agrees and goes, oh, Colin, you're quite brilliant. So assuming that he's that's correct, that he did go to a good school, okay, whatever. Never seen any of your fucking artwork. Have you ever shown any sketches? You ever shown any paintings you've done? No. So I'm left to presume we don't actually have any technical artistic talent. So I don't think a career would avail itself there, even were you not, you know, so woefully, no pun, undynamic and unambitious. So he returned depressed because there were some brown people in London. It transpired. How did that happen? Fucking hell. And, you know, lots of bumming happened or whatever. And then, you know, obviously that stopped. And he sat in his back room for 10 years, or his dad's back room for 10 years, watching ITV4 and being on the dole. So there's no career. I mean, he's never worked at all. So again, all he could do was take money from fucking taxpayers. That's all he could do. And, like, you know, sit around on his ass, being fucking depressed, probably, you know, getting up to all sorts on the quiet, who knows, catching venereals, whatever. And then presumably towards the end of that, he hit upon the idea of starting a YouTube channel. But the thing with his YouTube channel, now, Woes is a good communicator in a verbal sense. That he is, as I said, he's quite skilled at that. And he attached himself to this nascent kind of like outright kind of sphere. I mean, maybe he drifted into it. Maybe there wasn't any calculation in that. Maybe it was just, you know, quote unquote good fortune for him. I don't know. But whatever, he was in and around that, and he had this self-obsessed kind of like conceptually arty kind of like approach to it, which resonated, but without the political angst, there wouldn't be any significant presence, I don't believe. I mean, this is going back to a point. I mean, I probably should have said this. Like, let's just be hypothetical here, and let's just say that there was this great putsch in the West in, I don't know, 2003. And, you know, Blair and all his cronies were hung, drawn and quartered, and everything kind of reset, and we went back to the 1950s in a societal sense, in the terms of moral compass and all the rest of it. So there was this big putsch, and, you know, after a few, there was no more kind of like pause, political correctness, all the rest of it, woke, nation woke, whatever you would have called it back then. All that evaporated, I don't know, maybe you sent the fucking darkies home, whatever. We're back on the 1950s societal even course. I mean, you can purity spiral and say that wasn't good enough, whatever, fair enough. What the fuck would Millennial Woes have done? Because as I said, he's never had a job of any description. So, you know, you can just close this potential career thing here. Like that's not available. Like, as I said, he's got no artistic talent. I don't see there's any possibility for him being an artist. You know, the only possible way he could is if he would have been like one of these kind of like, oh, this represents, you know, whatever, all this bullshit. But now we're back in the 1950s. No one's interested in that societally. You know what I mean? So what would he have fucking done? Like, if you look at his content, like the guy, he claims that he's this artistic fucking, you know, he attended a very good school in art and all the rest of it. Has he ever, he's lived in London for fucking years. Like, if you're going to live in London, surely like the one good thing about it is you've got these world-class like museums and stuff, galleries. Did Millennial Woes ever take his fucking phone even, let alone a fucking GoPro or whatever, a half decent mic? Did he ever walk around some museums, like talking you through it, displaying this wonderful artistic knowledge he's got? Look at this beautiful painting, look at this work of genius. They have exhibitions of, like, you know, the greatest artists that ever have lived in places. But no, there's none of that. So he's not really interested in any of this stuff, or he doesn't know what he's fucking talking about. And if he does go and walk around a museum and look at pictures, he can't give you any, you know, genuine quality artistic appraisal of the work. I mean, all he can fucking do, and again, well, this comes back to the thing, he wouldn't have anything without the decline. All he can do is he can surf the decline, and he can attach his little maudling tap dances to the decline. So he'll show you like a picture of, I don't know, fucking Clacton in 1953 or something, and he'll go, oh God, it was so wonderful, look at that, all those lovely families. And it's just like, really? I think it was probably pretty fucking rough, to be honest. I think there's probably a lot of bad things happening back then, and even in those photos where there's a little rosy-cheeked kid on a fucking donkey, it wasn't some kind of like, you know, halcyon age. It was societally better than today. But I mean, you know, these people fetishize the past, an imagined past, you know, in a sort of spin to demoralize their audience about the present. Like, the present is appalling, it would seem, in the West. It needs to be, you know, the compass needs to be fucking, you know, adjusted significantly. Changes have to be made. We all understand this. But it doesn't mean that you just, like, sit there, like, gazing back into the past and, you know, making false appraisals on it and presenting it as something that it wasn't. I said this in a video fucking ages ago, like, even them, right, even in the 90s, like, these people sort of talk about the 90s like it was the last of the good ages, and I mean, in a lot of ways it kind of was. It's also a lot more fucking edgy. I mean, I don't know, without getting into all that again, it's like, as a young man in the 90s, you had to navigate a lot more fucking random violence, I think, than kids today do. And I know you're going to say, oh yeah, but the Ooga Boogas and all the rest of it. Yeah, okay. But as I said in that video, I lived up around fucking Tottenham. I mean, it was around the time when Millennial Woes was having panic attacks or whatever. I lived up around Tottenham around there, and it was like, that's pretty urban. It's pretty black. And I was a young man, and it like I got more shit from white lads over the years in provincial cities. I got started on, I had fights with more fucking white lads I never did with the fucking blacks. As I said in that video, I think they just view you as an NPC if you don't show any kind of potential for being a victim, which is to do with, you know, it's to do with presence and sort of body language and these kind of things, like not looking in any way startled, all this kind of stuff. They just view you as an NPC because you're not one of them. You know what I mean? But if you're in the fucking, a little bit earlier in the 90s and you're in provincial British cities at fucking 11:30, like, you know what I mean? It's a different matter. So, okay, this is not really relevant. But people like Millennial Woes, like, I don't know, well, the societal pressures of the 90s, I mean, he doesn't seem to talk about anything else, but, you know, I think there was a lot more random violence back then, for sure. Now, was it a better time? Yeah. Because, you know, necessarily the end of the world, that's just kind of life, isn't it? But, you know, they paint like everything, the one weird trick, everything comes down to the one worldview which they can demoralize, and they can tap dance, and they can present as a movement, you know, and get their fucking hand in your pocket. But, like, going back to this imagined putsch, right? So Millennial Woes there's no grist for his mill, his demoralization mill. So, okay, let's say he starts a fucking YouTube channel in 2012. This is a good 7 or 8 years into the great putsch, and everything's back on more or less an even keel. What's he gonna fucking talk about? Are you gonna talk about upstairs, downstairs? Because no one will fucking watch it. You know, Maybe some old biddy will watch it, some old wifey, which is basically what this man is. He is an old wifey. Sitting around, oh, how's Jeanette? Oh, she's alright. Oh, I haven't seen the winds for a while. That's basically his personality. So I don't know, maybe you could kind of appeal to them and, oh, upstairs, downstairs, wasn't it great? Oh, wasn't the sets wonderful and the costumes? Aye. But there's no hook. There's no kind of like, you know, political angsty hook that you can get in there. So he'd probably get, you know, I don't know. Even if he was good at it, let's just say, no, he's good at it. If he's good at talking about it, he's not good about writing about it at all. It's displayed. His writing's fucking astonishingly bad. Really. It just is. So if you wanted to talk to camera about it, but there's some old wifey or this kind of like, you know, sort of boomery demographic that would watch that and be interested in that and nostalgic about that. They're not going to sit there and watch some guy rambling. Least of all, if he's not going to, he's a bit scruffy, isn't he? Surely he could tidy his room up. I don't know. It's a bit dark. No. So none of this would work, is what I'm getting at. He wouldn't get any fucking views. This cultural commentator LARP would not work without the decline. And then he, like, you know, when he does his grifts and he lies and says he's in desperate financial straits and he needs money to pay the rent, you know, he blames, he says, I'm a victim of immigration. Because like the immigration has, you know, stoked the housing market and blah, blah, blah. So therefore he's a victim and this is all due to immigration. The guy, I mean, not getting into that again, it's transpired that he had 25 grand in Ethereum and Bitcoin alone lying around in open crypto wallets while he was doing all that. As I've said, he talked about getting a small rural property in Scotland. Cost you about 800 quid a month, and that would be for a nice property, 2-bed. So he could have paid 2 years up front on a tenancy agreement. He could have signed a 2-year tenancy agreement with a private landlord, not a fucking private landlord in the land who wouldn't accept that. So it was a lie to get money. And this isn't a problem for the distant right. They just ignore it. The content creators, they don't want to go near it. and I for the opening, I don't know, 10 guests or something, I posted that. I posted a short 2-minute Twitter video detailing what he'd done. And I said, are you not appalled by this? This is disgusting. He's got people like low-wage workers in his clutches saying, I've only got 20 quid, but I sent it to you, Woes. I wish I had more to give you. And the guy's a fucking liar. Like, he's taking money from these people. He's taking money under false pretenses. He's desperate. If the situation were not desperate, I would not ask. Oh. It's appalling behaviour. None of the content creators, actually no, Chris Dangerfield, he responded and he said, oh, I'm very, very busy at the moment, but you know, maybe I'll have a look at it at some point. But fair play to him. Fair play to him, the only one that did. Everyone else, nope, unexisted, like a fucking Russian war crime. Because it's bad for business, like a Russian war crime, like putting that in your timeline. It's bad for business, so it unexists. But the thing is, the actual black pill here is it unexists for the parasocial bros. Because it's like, okay, they're all affiliate marketers, it's all about money, they're just interested in, you know, extracting money, that's all it is, they're demoralised. Okay, we kind of get that. But the parasocial bros, well, there's no financial imperative here. You're not lobbying really for status within the movement, you know, all the rest of it. You're not keeping the mother hen happy here. But you don't have a problem with any of this. I mean, I posted that video. I don't know. It's got like 90 views on Odyssey or something. He's got 3 dislikes and no likes, I think, last time I looked. Okay, maybe I'm a shit communicator. Fair enough. But the content is in there. Thing is, they just go, oh, he's fucking white, but he isn't right. He's a fucking fed. He works for MI6. He works for the SBU. Like, or whatever the fuck. You know, because they're that retarded, they'd look at my fucking metrics and think this is a state operation. Fucking, not just a guy who happens to live in Ukraine and that would maybe have an axe to grind with these fucking ziggers. So they just dismiss it. Oh, this is bullshit. It's not. It's categorical. there's no debate to be had. He's got 25 grand lying around in just 2 cryptocurrencies alone. So he's got all the others of, you know, if you look on his fucking channel, you can see all the others, Monero and all the rest, Dogecoin. So what's he got on there? You know, the standard financial advice is you should never have more than 5% of your money in crypto. Well, he's got 25 grand lying around. So on that basis, he's got a lot of money. He's got a lot of money tucked away. But he'll beg and say, the situation's desperate. Oh, I'm a victim of immigration. So, like, there's no... You can call me a twat and all the rest of it. Knock yourself out. The point remains, it's inarguable what this man has done. You can deride the messenger, you can shoot the messenger, but you can't deny what this man's done. But it's just, it unexists. I mean, this is a kind of separate point, but you know, it is remarkable levels of demoralization. Demoralization will lead to a lack of moral standards, as Yuri Bezmenov said, and it's just so accurate. It's wild. Like, this is the fucking schoolboy fucking error that I made, was just bothering talking about the dissident right, really, because the fact of the matter is the dissident right in, let's say, 2022 February, structurally, well, it's probably 80-20. I think it's actually probably a bit more, but like, you know, the only people who weren't biologically unfit enough to remain have left, because they would have seen what the dissident right did in the wake of the invasion and everything else, and they would have been, ugh. And this isn't about like being pro-Ukraine or pro, but they're just liars. Like, Morkov's just lies. Is this not a problem for you that he says, I've never expressed an opinion on the war, when he's just, all he does is fucking information launder, certainly for the first 3 years, present Russian narratives and then lie and say he's fucking neutral. Like, to me, it's just like, if I was, you know, if I didn't really give a shit either way about the war, I'd still be like, mate, this is bullshit. We can all see what your fucking lean is here. Just own it. I've never expressed an opinion. Like, it's fucking repulsive, man. Be a fucking zigger, knock yourself out, but don't fucking lie like this. It's, ugh. Moving past that, all they do is demoralise. Morgoth, it's just so doomy and miserable. What was he saying the other day? Well, in the future they're going to fucking put me down like a dog. Like, fucking helplessness, just doom. Low energy, fucking doom goblin. Now, he, as I said, I think earlier, like, he's structurally capable as a writer, unlike Millennial Woes. And he's got this brand, which is, you know, built around the circumstance of his life, I suppose. But he absolutely is very brand aware. So he knows I'm the foot and Geordie, like, you know, and all this shit. Like, fair enough, that's who he is. But it's like, people have said, I've seen this coming up quite a lot in comments over the years. If he didn't have a Geordie, if he had a fucking, you know, nondescript accent, he wouldn't get, and it's absolutely true. And I've actually considered doing that. Like reading some of his essays in like Ian Beale's voice or something. The problem today is the money power, and the money power managed to get it wouldn't work because it's all tied up with this fucking noble savage LARP that people like Dellingpole and many, many more of the kind of like, you know, effete kind of middle classy kind of wing of the dissident right. They kind of get off on that. He's a noble savage. Oh my God, he worked in a factory. Wow. You know, as if a man who works in a fucking factory can't read a book here and there. You know what I mean? Like, this is the sort of, well, it's patronising really, isn't it? But whatever. I mean, he can play off this. I mean, the Geordie accent is, you know, it's an interesting accent, so he's got a hook there. What's his icon? His icon's like a guy going fishing with his dog. You know, he's always presenting this kind of stuff. Man of the North, like allusions to fucking, I don't know, whiskey-scented uncles fetching up a rabbit in the fucking Northumbrian mist. You know what I mean? It's like, it's got this kind of like tone, and that certain types of kind of middle-class home counties sort of people, it seems to be very, very popular with them. Well, okay, fair enough. This is a brand. That's his brand. He's lent into it. But the actual fucking content, it's just maudling doomerism. As I said, like, you know, demoralization is not something you should take lightly. It leads to a lack of moral standards. You can see it fucking everywhere in that scene because they are structurally demoralized. It's really that simple. There's no value can come from them, and you can't reach them because they're demoralized. And it's like Bezmenov said in that clip. I mean, maybe I'll try to tag it in, locate it. You know, he's talking about the demoralized, but in this instance, he's talking about like 80s communists, you know, bourgeois communists of the West, which is exactly the same as the ziggers today. You've got to understand that. This is the same game. This is the same outcome. They've had their head filled with Russian propaganda, and it's turned them into this. Now, in the 80s, okay, 70s, 80s, it was bourgeois communists. Today, it's the fucking ziggers. It's the same thing, exactly the same thing. And Bezmenov just actually had it right. He says you can't reach these people. They're demoralized.
Thanks to lack of moral standards. As I mentioned before, exposure to true information does not matter anymore. A person who was demoralized is unable to assess true information. The facts tell nothing to him. Even if I shower him with information, with authentic proof, with documents, with pictures, even if I take him by force to the Soviet Union and show him concentration camp, he will refuse to believe it until he is going to receive a kick in his fat bottom. When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization.
You know, the only way they'll understand is when a military boot crushes their balls. Because you can show them evidence, you can show them proof. In this instance alone, let's move it away from geopolitics, Millennial Woes lying to his audience, sitting around with a load of fucking money lying around, just in 2 crypto accounts alone, 25 grand, 26 grand nearly, I think, and begging and being desperate. You can show them, like, you know, proof of this, and they will just ignore it because they're demoralized. So regardless of anything else, this is just quite an interesting, you know, social example of demoralization in action. And it shouldn't be taken lightly. So when you see all these counts demoralizing people, and people like it, this is the fucking weird thing. They love the maudling doomercore. They've kind of got used to it. They've imbibed it. It's got under their skin. I really don't want to talk about Ukraine here, but Ukrainian nationalism doesn't do this at all. It's not maudling. It's all, you know, you can look at nationalist fucking movements in Ukraine, like the youth movements and stuff like that. It's just, they're off fucking, you know, they're off doing mass melees in woods and fucking training first aid and training basic fucking drills with weaponry and shit, and listening to talks from, you know, historians that will tell them about their history and it will inspire them. There's no maudling shit in it. That's for the fucking West. Because that's what, you know, the likes of Russia want you to imbibe. And even if it's not, even if you're just going to say, well, all it is it's this very sort of feminine, unimpressive doomer people who, you know, have got their own little siren song and they can earn a few quid. Well, maybe that's how it emerged, but like you are on fucking crack if you think that like media observation units, you know, don't, you know, of Russia, you know, presumably China as well. You know, demoralizing your enemy population is a key military strategy. So when you see people demoralizing the population, you should be very fucking wary about it. And I don't know. All these people, specifically Woes, as I said, he just profits off the decline. He wouldn't have shit without the decline. He wouldn't have a job, because I don't think the situation was that bad. It was a societal situation. I mean, he says about the 90s, but okay. He returned to the parental abode and basically sat on the dole and did fuck all for 10 years. But that was, what, 2001, 2002, something like that? But I don't think that was that bad back then. You could have got a fucking job in a call centre, mate. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. So, you know, there's no... I just... This guy would have nothing. Even if, you know, in the... after the base putsch of 2005 that didn't happen... Even if he'd got his, you know, set up a YouTube channel, what would he have done? Would he talked about art? No, I don't see any great insight. That's his skills. Would he talked about, like, you know, TV and culture? I suppose he could have tried, but I mean, that's, you're doing that from a sort of apolitical angle in this point. No one's going to be interested. Least of all of you sitting there in your fucking wanking t-shirt in your fucking dungeon. You know, in the dark. Jowly, you know, whatever, like blathering, talking about upstairs, downstairs. There's no demographic for that. Least of all the demographic that would fund you. So, you know, everything this guy's got, you know, financially and I suppose socially, really, it's all from surfing the decline. So anyway, well, that's like, I don't know, half an hour or something. I thought this would be 5 minutes. As I stated, I'm very, very boring. Don't have much to do. Saturday morning. It's grey, miserable. So there it is. There it is. Just fucking, just honestly, get out of these. I know he's setting up his Griftathon, you know, at the moment. I mean, it's just, oh, it's just so unhealthy. But, you know, whatever, knock yourself out. Watch it if you want. You could do something else. You could get that time. How many he's doing 50 odd streams, I think he said somewhere. So what's that? It's probably going to be 70 odd hours. Imagine you just spent 70 hours trying to learn a fucking language. Do a course, do a fucking e-course in drop shipping. Or spend it listening to this fucking homo. And everyone dancing around the elephant in the room when he says he's straight. I mean, okay. Do that if you want. Knock yourself out. Anyway, whatever else, have a good day.
When a military boot crashes his balls, then he will understand, but not before that. That's the tragic of the situation of demoralization. So basically America is stuck with demoralization, and unless, even if you start right now, here, this minute, you start educating new generation of Americans, it will still take you 15 to 20 years to turn the tide of ideological perception of reality back to normalcy and patriotism.